Hey, all you tough mothers out there. I have an amazing guest with me today. His name is Chad Tyler. He is a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, former MMA fighter, a local truck driver, construction worker, martial arts instructor, a self proclaimed gym rat, Pro 2A supporter, and engaged in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu competitions from Brazil and is currently living in North Carolina. Chad, thank you so much for joining me. And tell me a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
Technically, like I said, just a martial arts instructor. I mainly train and teach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Been with Guy and Rob Pendergrass Academy of Martial Arts since I was 18. Um, just mainly just train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, either sports, self defense, in my case, combative for MMA. And then they, as in Guy and Rob, the gym owners, they're getting me into teaching more striking to help out with the teens and the adults. So I'm kind of getting the broad spectrum as far as being a trainer and teacher.
Oh, that's really cool. So are people coming to Brazilian, I keep saying Brazilian, I don't know why, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for self-defense or for fitness, or kind of like, what do you see the majority of people joining now?
It's a very diverse group. Mainly with the adults, they're either looking for health and fitness. Yes, there are people doing the I need self defense. Then other people they're just doing something extra for fun. But there are other cases where people just want to train for competitions or a fight. But definitely the self defense aspect is there with most people trying to train because uh, most of the guys that train with at night, they're either former military or in military law enforcement. And a couple of them kind of pull me off to the side personally, like, hey, what would you do in this situation? Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, based off of obviously the ground and everything playing involving some type of guard. They'll ask, like, well, what would you do? Would you do this in a street fight or self defense situation? I tell them, like, if you do not have to play guard or pull guard or anything, don't don't do it. But if you get taken down, you have that option to at least figure out where are you and what's going on around you while someone's you're engaged with somebody.
So that's pretty interesting. So it's basically more like in a defensive situation, that's kind of like what you would resort to kind of
Yeah.
protect yourself and evaluate the situation.
hmm
Okay. And you said that your fiance is actually into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu as well. Like, do you guys train together, or kind of like, how did she get into it? And
That's a funny story because 4 years ago we did not meet on a dating app. We actually met each other on Instagram, started going back and forth because she got into doing jujitsu a little over 4 years ago, and I guess I popped up as far as people she might know. We talked off and on, and pretty much like just exchange notes and experiences training. But yeah, it was we do train together when we are together because she lives in California. I'm on the other side of the country right now. Um, so yeah, when we're together, we're training, we're traveling around, going to different places, and the bit of a difference because she's maybe 125, 130, yeah, and I'm 210. So there's give and take as far as what I can do and what she can do and can't do, and so for me, I'm learning how to roll with her or train with her while we're moving around and train with different people because that's the point of jujitsu is you're learning to train with different people, different body types, different yeah, just everybody have different rank and experiences. So when we do train with each other, it's mainly her just chasing after me. And I'm trying to figure out how to deal with her. I mean, literally, it's like she is a spider monkey on me.
so, I mean, that's got to come in handy for her, right? Because I mean, the
But
likelihood of her being attacked by another equally sized woman in a sterile environment out in the world is slim to none. It's probably going to be a guy your size coming at her, or, threatening her or whatever. So there's got to be some kind of practical use in her training with somebody of your size.
exactly. With her team right now, she's actually affiliated with. I think you interviewed Chris Pizzo.
Uh-huh.
She's with Brazilian top team in California,
Oh, cool.
and so there are definitely guys my size that she trained with. So she's very much used to training with guys like that, and that's more realistic, especially to the point where you have to resort to using Brazilian Jiu Jitsu as self defense. You can't get to anything or get help. That is like a last resort. If there's no weapon available, no, obviously in California, you can't be carrying a firearm on you. But yeah, that's definitely a last resort option.
Right. Okay. And so like, are you seeing, especially like in light of COVID, because I know like a lot of women have been having anxiety about being able to protect themselves and people getting a little bit more mentally unstable as all of this progresses and not being able to carry a firearm with herself on the streets and, and she's by herself. Obviously you're in North Carolina. But there's got to be a lot of other women that kind of feel that way. Do you see a lot of women coming into the martial arts and kind of like being interested in physically being able to protect themselves?
It's rare, but I do see it happening. Again, but there's two sides to the gym I train at. There's the jiu-jitsu side and the Muay Thai striking side. And I'm seeing it more diverse now to where more women are coming in for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then there's the other type where they feel like, stop right there. That Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that's a whole different world. Most people won't, they just kind of look at it sideways. They're just like, that's not really for me right now, but I'm going to go over here and learn how to punch somebody. So it's more of a personal preference. So
Right.
between the striking and the grappling, yeah, there's definitely been an increase of the female population growing, and just in that, either for, again, to get back into shape, or they're in there for an actual self-defense reason.
I keep seeing that, like, because I keep seeing there's a lot of ranges out there that teach, conceal carry or, tactical advantages with their firearms or personal protection, but they also incorporate specifically Brazilian Jiu Jitsu into their training program. So I was kind of curious as to like your insight as to why that specific martial art has been kind of tied in with carrying a firearm for personal protection.
That that is interesting because North Carolina, there's a lot of places to shoot, gun stores everywhere. Women, I know for a fact, are getting into more firearms training. There is a local business, his buddy of mine running a business called Dagger Management, Samuel Wood. He actually teaches self-defense and concealed carry and all that stuff. And he's actually one of my students that comes to me, hey, what would you do in a situation? And he kind of puts that, my opinions towards his classes. And especially when there's women involved in his classes, he goes in detail of, this is like a mindset you have to get into. If you can't get to your gun, definitely some type of grappling martial art would definitely help get distance to where you can't get to your weapon or your firearm.
Yeah, there's got to be certain moves that women can do that are more geared towards a size discrepancy, right? Like I
Right.
don't think that a woman punching a guy in the face is probably
Real.
not going to be quite as effective, but there are softer places that they can go for, or like, pressure points or joints or whatever, that you don't have to apply a tremendous amount of brute force, but can be
Mhm.
effective in disarming somebody or stopping them from harming you. So I'd imagine that's kind of like more of what they get into.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. Again, with jiu-jitsu, everything's on the ground. You're learning the techniques of jiu-jitsu, but when it comes to soft areas, vital areas, and your fingers are a weapon. You have eyes, you have the nose, you have the throat. Especially when it comes to a larger male, you have the groin, you have soft spots in the male body you can get to do damage to a person, and or to get away from them, or at least give you time to get somewhere else, or get to a weapon. So definitely there are the pressure points like your eyes, to teach women what to go after.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard it, but who I heard it from, but I do remember that there was somebody that was citing statistics about women that had been assaulted out in the street, or strangers or whatever, or grabbed. And then when they looked at the guy that attacked them, they had like scratches all over their faces, but their
Hmm.
eyes and their throat and vulnerable areas were completely untouched. And I think that there's a lot of, like you said, mindset for women. Like if a guy's coming at me, I'm not going to scratch at his face, like just dig a thumb into his eye, but you have to be
Yeah.
mentally prepared to do that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially if somebody is a lot larger than you or on drugs or whatever, like being blinded is something that's definitely going to be a pattern interrupt for you to get away, which I believe
Definitely.
is the ultimate, result that you're looking for. Um, so what would you kind of like say to other women that are kind of like interested in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or, want to get into self-protection, but don't really know where to start?
Well, everybody loves to Google things, but that's one thing. But also, I mean, you it's not going to be hard to ask or talk to anybody who might know someone they might know. But definitely, there's places everywhere to train for martial arts. It's just a matter of um, going to a place, and I'm big on intuition and energy. If you walk into a place that teaches martial arts, karate, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, whatever, you walk in, you're just like, I'm not feeling it. There's no problem, just turn around and walk out. I'm big on, hey, you walk in, you feel comfortable. It seems like they're legit as far as their instruction. Go for it. I mean, most places don't do the whole contract thing anymore. That's like 1990s Taekwondo stuff.
What's a
Um,
contract?
it's just like some places will try tying you into like a 1 year contract, 2 year contract, and
Got it.
so
Okay.
if you stop showing up, you're still paying for it. Whereas not the case anymore for most places.
Right. So what would, if you're a complete novice, like I don't know the first thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but like if I were to walk into a place, what could I look for that I would know, okay, this place is a good place to get good instruction and I'm not going to get hurt or learn something that's counterproductive?
Well, it'd be kind of bad that the gym wouldn't let you watch the classes to see what goes on during classes. Most places, my gym, particular, they have beginners classes. They're teaching you all the basic stuff: defense, offense, stuff like that. And then that, I mean, it's like pretty much. I'm not saying I'm not never been in the military. It's kind of in comparison to basic training for the military. Basic training, you go through all the basic training, then they actually bring you into a class where there's going to be a little bit more intensity as far as drilling. But you're not being made to partner up with a 300-pound guy. You're picking someone close to your size, and then you're when you feel comfortable, you get to circle around and train with someone of a different stature, gender, whatever. So definitely, if someone, I mean, you can sit there and watch a class and see how what goes on in that gym. You can make your own decision that way. Um, Otherwise, I mean, there's Google. There's Google ratings on everything. So you
Right.
go to the store, you go to a gym, and oh, it looks cool in here, but it's got a 1.5 star rating. There's probably a reason it's got a low rating.
Right. And I think I find that like, my only experience with out of the ordinary, like I train and I lift and I do my own thing, but like I tried, CrossFit and all that. And I went to one place that was great. And it was, a really good environment. I went to another place and I found the instructors were not only awful, but potentially incredibly damaging.
Uh-huh.
Um, and, for me, like having already been in CrossFit, I knew like that is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, like I feel like with martial arts, there could be certain things that you do that you don't know, and then like you cause massive injury because the instructor's kind of an idiot. So I don't know if you had like an inside scoop as to like what specific things are kind of known within the jiu-jitsu world to like look out for so that you don't end up getting severely hurt.
Um, I mean, that's just it. You'd have to watch and make your own decision. Also, places will have like trial classes. You want to try out a class, beginner class, and just feeling out everything. I mean, there's not that much other than I mean, you have to go in and actually watch and feel out a couple of classes or just watch a class. Excuse me.
Okay.
Um, but again, like everybody, I mean, you talk and ask questions. Someone might know something, and they're like, "Hey, we'll come to my gym, just try it out." And I'm all for this because there's times where, even for me, where I work, I make it to the point where, I mean, I don't make it a point. Most people don't know, unless they've known me for years. They don't know what I do outside of work, and I'll hear them talk like, "Well, I want to do this. I want to do this." I'm like, "Well, I know a place you could train at, or I know a place that's close to where you live. You could try out. That's decent." So there's that aspect of you actually know somebody who knows a place to go to that's decent.
So it's kind of like experience and word of mouth.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how did you get into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu? Because it looks like you kind of do like a lot of different things. And then how did you get into instruction?
Um, so long story short, moved from Minnesota. The government, my dad had a government job with the federal prison system, and they transferred us down here so he could activate the federal prison system in Butner, North Carolina. Um, Minnesota, really good for wrestling. Moved down here. The school I went to didn't have any wrestling. So I got really strong and really fat really fast. And to be honest, I mean, I was like, oh, I'm good at picking up heavy things, but at the same time, I don't have the skinny genetics from my family. So most of my high school career, I was just lifting, eating, and just doing school. And there's nothing else for me to do. Then I started getting more into like being online to where I started seeing stuff inside the cage, and kind of find out it was mixed martial arts was like the early UFC days or I want to say early days, like late 90s going into like 2000s. And I'm like, okay, this is all right. Where do I do this at? And then I saw places. I started searching around, and of course, I was living in Youngsville, and they said there was a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu school down the road from my parents' house. I was like, that's kind of like wrestling. I guess I'll try that. And my instructor's guy and Rob, they were teaching out of an aerobics room in a women's gym, and it was no larger than like 15 by 20 foot room. It was small, and there was probably 6 guys in there when I walked in. I come walking in, and I'm okay. I wobbled in. Yeah, I was a big boy. I walked in, looked around. They just kind of looked around. They're like, "Oh, what we got here?" And I was like, "Yeah, you do wrestling?" They're like, "Oh, we do jiu-jitsu." But I was like, "Okay, well, I turn 18 in like a week. I'll be right back." So sure enough, a day after I turned 18, walked in, signed a waiver, and then it just like one thing led to another. Figured out it was nothing like wrestling because there was no pins, there was nothing of the sort. And then over the years progressing, it just one thing led to another, to where I was competing and fighting all the time. And recent years, I got to the point where like I'm backing off of competing, or I'm not backing off competing, I'm backing off fighting mixed martial arts. Then it got to the point where people are like, well, why don't you teach a class? You're pretty good. You're like, you have the experience behind all this, the know-how of both the sport and something combative. And I'm sitting here, I'm just like, my day job right now really won't allow it, but I'll ask. And sure enough, communication with the big boss, I was like, hey, I leave early so I could actually go teach? And he's just like, sure, why not? I'm like, well, I just want to make sure, because I know 12-hour shifts. That 12-hour goes into actual teaching class type thing, or interfering with the school hours. So he's like, oh, tell the superintendent, leave early. Okay, cool. So yeah, fell into that, and it was just like I kind of took to teaching and helping guys get ready for competitions more than actual fighting. As much as I love fighting, I just got to the point I'm just like, all right, there's politics with the sport, and I just got this really stupid. I don't like it. I don't love the sport anymore. So I went from that transition of fighting to helping anybody get ready for anything they want. Either it's self-defense, competitions, or they're just trying to work on something they suck at. And same thing with firearms training. My buddy who runs Dagger Management, I hit him up all the time. I'm like, dude, I suck at a pistol. I suck at pistol. And he's like, I know, I saw your target. Thanks. So yeah, like there's times like I'll just reach out to him, and that's where I'm very big on staying on top of people that say they want to train. I'm like, hey, where are you gonna be? I'll try to come train. No, you're coming to train, because firearms training, shooting a pistol, shooting rifle, jiu-jitsu, they are all perishable traits. And it doesn't take long before, again, you take a month off from jiu-jitsu, you go back in there, and you're like, God, I suck. What happened? It's just all your experience just goes out the window, just as fast as you leave.
Right. It's repetition and
yeah, exactly.
It's not just a practice; it's the perfect practice, right? You just got to keep going at it and keep doing it.
Keep going. Yeah,
well,
and that's the upside. I think it's the upside to jiu-jitsu is you're constantly training with the same people. There's pros and cons to that. You're training with the same people, they figure out what your game is and what you're good at, and they figure out how to shut that down, forcing you to change your game plan up to go to something else. And that's also another subject of, hey, there's nothing wrong with going to another. You can still keep your affiliation and loyalty to your team, but you could go to a different gym where there's different people, and you have no idea what they're doing at all, and that will wake your nervous system up big time. Of like, holy crap, I do suck. Wow. And then you get to train with those guys occasionally, and you're like, okay, I'm getting better. So it's one of the things you constantly have to change your stressors, and the type of training or the training partners in that fact, all the time, because you're going to get used to it. And then you're like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm on a plateau. Everybody's starting to kick my butt now. So there's nothing wrong with changing your game plan. And every now and then go to somebody else's gym and get some new bodies to train with.
No, that's really good advice. Because it makes sense. If you keep fighting the same people over and over again, like if you ever have to use it, then you're going to be like, well, wait a minute, you're not coming in on the left like Chad normally does, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, hold on, time out. Stop rugging. Don't rob me just yet. I gotta readjust.
Wait, you're supposed to pull guard. I'm the one. I'm not supposed to play guard. Oh my God. That's not how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that'll work. You could try that. Maybe that's like a good pattern interrupt. Like, I need a timeout.
Wait, let me get my mouth guard real quick.
Whip that out. You've got you've got your concealed carry, you got your mouth guard, and the other one, you were prepared. That's it. So that's what I'm hearing, ladies, is you can meet somebody on Instagram, apparently. And then you can, adjust for new people by going from gym to gym. And then with your concealed carry, make sure you have your mouth guard and you are prepared for any situation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chad. I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of share your story and your experiences with our audience. If anybody wants to reach out with you with any questions about MMA or Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, kind of like, I'll put your contact information in the show notes page. Is there anything else that you kind of want to share with our audience before we go?
Man, don't judge a book by its cover. I mean, I'm not the prettiest of guys to be talking to. My fiance is going to make a comment on that one. But at the same time, like, you can't walk into a place, because some people see me at the gym. They're like, yeah, I'm rough because of the years of me doing stupid things and fighting. I like helping people. I like talking to people, believe it or not. You need help, I'll help you any way I can. If I can't, I'll find somebody else who can. There's nothing wrong with at least sending me a message or something. Hey, I need help. Okay, I got all the time in the world. Like, if I can't help you, I know a person who can. So don't judge. Don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for help. Regardless of, I mean, obviously Oliver's case, that guy, yeah, you look at him like, but definitely, like, most times,
completely hopeless. It's my brother, for those of you that are listening, so I can say that.
But yeah, definitely don't be afraid to ask questions, especially regardless of what the person looks like.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chad. I really appreciate it. Moms, get out there. If you want to get some Brazilian Jiu Jitsu training or some personal protection aside from firearms, I urge you to do so. Don't be afraid. Get out there and do it. Be not afraid. Great job. You made it to the end. You are one tough mother. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support the work that we do and keep the good loving coming, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening. What's that? You're one of those crazy mother followers that wants more of this nonsense? You got it. Subscribe to the Moms Love Guns YouTube channel. Follow us at Moms Love Guns on Instagram and join our free private Facebook group to connect with other women just like you in an encouraging and non-judgmental community. If you want to share even more love, share your new favorite community with a friend or all of your friends, maybe even a few enemies, just to be safe. Get out there, overcome your fears, be not afraid. You have got this.